Pack your desk, brother announced. We need this space for real employees. I said nothing. I cleared my desk and left. By 8 a.m. the next morning, his company received an eviction notice. Because I'd owned the $14 million building since 2019. The panicked calls started before 9 a.m. But let me back up. Let me tell you how my brother Marcus built his entire empire on dismissing me. Marcus was always the success story. Harvard MBA at 24. VP at a Fortune 500 company by 28. Started his own tech consulting firm Apex Solutions at 30. My parents held him up like a trophy at every family gathering. Marcus closed a $3 million contract with Boeing. Marcus just hired his 15th employee. Marcus was featured in Seattle Business Magazine. And then there was me. The quiet one. The one who worked from home doing something with computers. The one who showed up to family dinners in jeans while Marcus wore custom suits. The one my father introduced as our daughter. She does freelance work, with that apologetic tone that said we're not sure what went wrong with this one. I never corrected them. I never explained that my freelance work was actually a government contracting business specializing in cybersecurity infrastructure. I never mentioned the $8.4 million in contracts I'd secured with the Department of Defense. I never showed them my Forbes 30 Under 30 feature from 3 years ago. I was watching, testing, gathering evidence of exactly who would stand by me when there was nothing impressive to stand by. The results were conclusive. In 2019 I made a purchase. The Riverside Tower in downtown Seattle. 12 stories of prime commercial real estate. Purchase price, $14 million. I bought it through an LLC called Sentinel Properties. Clean, quiet, city. The building had several tenants. A law firm on floors 2 to 4. A marketing agency on floors 5 to 6. And occupying the premium top 3 floors with the best views of Elliott Bay, Apex Solutions. Marcus's company. He had no idea his little sister was his landlord. The property management company Cascade Realty handled everything. Rent collected automatically. Maintenance requests processed through standard channels. Marcus paid his $28,000 monthly lease like clockwork, never knowing where that money ultimately went. I kept one small office for myself on the 8th floor. Nothing fancy. Just a space to work when I needed to be in the city. The door had my name on it. Sarah Chin, consultant. Generic enough to be ignored. Marcus's employees walked past my office daily. Sometimes they'd nod. Most times they didn't notice me at all. That was exactly how I wanted it. Every Sunday we had family dinner at my parents' house in Bellevue. Marcus would arrive in his Tesla talking on his AirPods about deals and contracts. I'd pull up in my 7-year-old Subaru, usually 5 minutes late because I'd been finishing up actual work. "Sarah, you're late again," Mom would say. "Marcus has been here for 20 minutes. "Sorry, Mom." Got caught up. "Still doing the freelance thing?" Dad would ask the same question every week. "Still doing the freelance thing?" Marcus would look up from his phone long enough to smirk. "You know, Sarah, if you need a real job, Apex is always hiring. We need someone to manage our office supplies. I could probably get you $45,000 a year." The table would laugh. Good-natured ribbing between siblings, right? I'd smile and eat my dinner. I never mentioned that my last contract renewal with Homeland Security was worth $12.3 million over 3 years. I never mentioned that I'd just been invited to speak at the RSA conference on advanced threat detection. I never mentioned that my security clearance level was higher than anyone else at that table would ever achieve. I was testing them. How low would they let me sink in their eyes before someone asked a real question? Before someone said, "Sarah, what do you actually do?" The answer apparently was infinitely low. At Riverside Tower things started shifting 6 months ago. Marcus's company was growing. He just landed a major contract with Amazon and needed to hire rapidly. His 3 floors were getting cramped. He started eyeing the 8th floor. "My floor. That whole floor is basically empty," he mentioned to his CEO Trevor one day in the elevator. I was 3 feet away, invisible as usual. Just some random consultants who barely use the space. "We should talk to property management about expanding." Trevor nodded. "The lease rates are reasonable here. Way better than what we'd pay for Class A space downtown." They got off on the 10th floor, already planning their expansion. Neither one had acknowledged my presence. 2 weeks later Marcus sent me an email. Not a text. Not a call. A formal email to my work address. Sir, Apex Solutions is expanding operations. We're in discussions with Cascade Realty about taking over the entire 8th floor. I know you have a small office there, but given that you work from home most of the time, this seems like an easy transition. We'll make sure you have access to a co-working space membership. WeWork is very nice. Let me know if you need help moving your things. Marcus. I read it 3 times. The tone was so casual. So absolutely certain that of course his little sister would give up her office space. Where else would she even need to be? I replied, I'll think about it. His response came in 4 minutes. Not really a negotiation, Sarah. This is a business decision. I've already talked to Dad about it. He agrees it makes sense. Of course he'd talked to Dad. Of course Dad had agreed. Why would Sarah need real office space? I didn't respond. I made a different call. To my property management company. To the CEO actually whom I'd worked with during the building purchase. Richard, it's Sarah Chin. I need you to do exactly nothing about Apex Solutions expansion request. Deny it politely. And I need you to start preparing 30-day lease termination documents. Hold them for my approval but have them ready. Are you sure? Richard asked. They're one of our largest tenants. I'm very sure. I'll let you know when to move forward. Last Tuesday Marcus stopped being subtle. He showed up at my office without warning. I was on a video call with the Defense Department project manager, discussing penetration testing protocols for a new facility. I saw Marcus through my glass door, gesturing impatiently. I muted my mic. I'm in a meeting. This'll just take a second, he said, walking in anyway. I unmuted. I apologize, we're experiencing an interruption. Can we pick this up in 10 minutes? The project manager nodded and I ended the call. That was a $4.7 million contract discussion I just had to cut short. What do you need, Marcus? He looked around my office with barely concealed disdain. 1 desk. 2 monitors. A bookshelf with technical manuals. A small couch. Sarah, this is getting ridiculous. We've been trying to work with you for weeks on the expansion. You're being unreasonable. I said I'd think about it. What's there to think about? You're here maybe twice a week. We have actual employees who need this space. People doing real work that generates real revenue. I leaned back in my chair. Is that so? Apex Solutions brought in $18 million last year. We're on track for $25 million this year. We have 32 employees now. You have, what? Your laptop and some books. I have my work. Your freelance consulting. He said it like someone might say your little hobby. Sarah, at some point you need to grow up. This isn't about you anymore. This is about real business. I looked at him for a long moment. My older brother. The golden child. Standing in my office in my building telling me about real business. I'll let you know, I said. His jaw tightened. Fine. But I'm moving forward with property management regardless. Dad agrees with me. If you want to make this difficult, we can make it official. He left without closing my door. I sat there in silence for 30 seconds. Then I picked up my phone and called Richard. Send the termination papers. Effective immediately. 30-day notice as required by their lease. Sarah, are you? I'm certain. Send them today. But Marcus wasn't done yet. Friday afternoon Marcus came back. This time he brought Trevor and 2 other executives. They walked into my office like they owned it. Actually, they walked into my office like they were about to. Sarah, we need to talk, Marcus said. I closed my laptop. I'm listening. We've made a decision. Apex is taking over this floor immediately. We're moving our HR department up here next week. I've already spoken with property management. They're on board with the transition. I glanced at the 4 men crowding my small office. That's interesting. Pack your desk, Marcus said. Those 3 words. We need this space for real employees. Trevor smirked. The other executives looked uncomfortable but said nothing. Pack your desk, Marcus repeated. Today. We're bringing contractors in tomorrow to start renovations. You can work from home. It's where you usually are anyway. I stood up slowly. I looked at my desk. My monitors. My bookshelf. The framed photo of me receiving my master's degree that no one in my family had attended because Marcus had a company retreat that same weekend. Today? I asked. Today. I'm not trying to be harsh, Sarah, but this is business. You'll understand when you have a real company someday. I said nothing. I opened my desk drawer and started removing my items. My notebooks. My backup drive. My coffee mug. I placed them in a cardboard box that Trevor helpfully provided, probably from their moving supplies downstairs. Marcus watched with his arms crossed. This is good for you too, you know. Maybe it'll motivate you to pursue something more substantial. You're 33 years old. Still doing freelance work. Mom's worried about you. I picked up the box. Anything else? Just leave your key card with reception on your way out. We're reprogramming access for this floor tonight. I walked to the door, then turned back. For the record, Marcus, I never needed this office. He smiled. I know. That's why this works out for everyone. No, I said quietly. You don't know anything. I left Riverside Tower at 4:47 p.m. on Friday afternoon. I placed my box in my car. I drove to my real office, the one in my house in Madison Park where I did 90% of my actual work. The house Marcus and my parents had never visited because they assumed it was probably just a small rental. It was a $3.2 million property I'd purchased in 2018. But they'd never asked, so I'd never mentioned it. I made one phone call on my drive home. Richard. Execute the termination. Effective immediately. 30 days starting today. Deliver the papers first thing Monday morning. Sarah, they're going to. I know exactly what they're going to do. That's the point. I didn't go to Riverside Tower on Monday. I didn't need to be there. Instead, I worked from home handling a video conference with Pentagon officials about a contract renewal. At 7:53 a.m. my phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. What the hell did you do? I ignored it. At 8:02 a.m. another text. Call me right now. I declined the call that came 30 seconds later. At 8:15 a.m. my phone started ringing continuously. Marcus. Trevor. My father. My mother. Marcus again. I finished my Pentagon call at 9 a.m. then checked my messages. Marcus had left 4 voicemails. I listened to the last one. Sarah, I don't know what you did or what strings you pulled, but Apex just received an eviction notice. 30 days to vacate Riverside Tower. Our lawyers are looking at it right now, but it's ironclad. They're saying the building ownership wants us out. This is insane. We have contracts. We have rights. Call me back immediately. There were 17 text messages. I read them in order, watching the progression from confusion to anger to panic. 8:04 a.m. What did you do? 8:18 a.m. This isn't funny. 8:33 a.m. Our lawyers say the eviction is legal. 8:41 a.m. Dad is calling you. 8:55 a.m. We have 32 employees. We can't just move. 9:02 a.m. Sarah, please call me. 9:07 a.m. We need to talk about this. 9:12 a.m. I'm sorry about Friday, okay? Can we just talk? I made myself a coffee. I checked my email. Another contract had come through. The Department of Energy wanted a security audit. Estimated value, $2.8 million. I replied to that first. Then at 9:30 a.m. I called Marcus back. He answered on the first ring. Sarah, thank God. What is happening? Did you talk to property management? Did you file some kind of complaint? No complaint, I said. Just a business decision. What business decision? What are you talking about? I'm talking about Sentinel Properties LLC exercising its right to terminate a lease with proper notice. It's all in the paperwork you received. Silence. Long enough that I thought the call had dropped. Sentinel Properties, he said slowly. The ownership company. Yes. Sarah. His voice had changed completely. Sarah, what are you saying? I'm saying I own Riverside Tower, Marcus. I bought it in 2019 for $14 million. You've been my tenant for 5 years. And now you're not. More silence. That's impossible. You don't have that kind of money. You do freelance consulting. I run a government contracting firm specializing in cybersecurity. Last year's revenue was $31 million. I have active contracts with the Department of Defense, Homeland Security, and 3 intelligence agencies. I hold a top-secret SCI clearance, and I own the building your company operates from. I could hear him breathing on the other end of the line. 5 years, I continued. 5 years of rent checks. $28,000 a month. You've paid me $1.68 million to operate in my building. And you've spent 5 years telling me I should grow up and get a real job. Sarah, I didn't. You told me to pack my desk. You told me I wasn't a real employee. You brought your executives to my office to humiliate me. We needed the space. You needed MY space. An MY building. And instead of asking respectfully, instead of treating me like an equal, you decided to treat me like an inconvenience. Sarah, please. We can fix this. We can. The eviction stands. You have 30 days. We have contracts with Amazon. With Microsoft. We can't just move. Do you know what this will cost us? I know exactly what it will cost you. I've read your financials. They're filed publicly. Moving will cost you approximately $890,000 between deposits, moving expenses, build-out costs, and contract penalties for late deliverables while you're disrupted. It might cost you the Amazon contract entirely if you can't maintain your timeline. So you're going to destroy my company? Is that what this is? I'm not destroying anything. I'm making a business decision. The same kind you made when you told me to pack my desk. His voice cracked. I said I'm sorry. I was stressed. The expansion pressure has been. You weren't sorry when you said it. You were sorry when you got the eviction notice. By 10 a.m. both my parents were calling. I let it go to voicemail. My mother's message was predictable. Sarah, your father is very upset. Marcus says you own his building? Why didn't you tell us? This is terrible timing for his company. You need to work this out with him. He's your brother. Call me back. Not congratulations on building a successful company. Not we're proud of you. Just you need to work this out with him. My father's voicemail was more direct. Sarah, this is ridiculous. Whatever point you're trying to make, you've made it. Now fix this situation with Marcus. He has employees depending on him. Don't let your feelings about needing an office ruin his business. My feelings about needing an office. That's what they'd reduced it to. I didn't call back. Instead, I forwarded both voicemails to my personal lawyer with a note. For documentation if this escalates. At 11:30 a.m. Marcus called again. This time I answered. I talked to Richard at Cascade Realty, he said. No hello. No preamble. He confirmed everything. You really own the building? Yes. He also said you've been the owner since before we even moved in. We were your tenants from day one. That's correct. And you never said anything. For 5 years. No. Why? Why would you hide something like that? I leaned back in my office chair looking out at Lake Washington. I was conducting an experiment. I wanted to see how my family would treat me when they thought I was failing. When they thought I was just barely getting by with freelance work. When there was nothing impressive to brag about at dinner parties. That's manipulative. Is it? Or is it just removing the performance? I stopped performing success for you. And you showed me exactly who you are when you think someone's beneath you. I never thought you were beneath me. You told me to pack my desk. You offered me a job managing office supplies. You've spent years making jokes about my little laptop business at family dinners. You literally suggested I grow up and pursue something substantial last Friday. He was quiet. For the record, I continued, my company's revenue is substantially higher than Apex Solutions. My contracts are with federal agencies, not regional businesses. My clearance level means I work on projects you'll never even know exist. And I did it all while you and mom and dad assumed I was failing. Sarah. The eviction stands. 30 days. I suggest you start looking at office space in Bellevue. Class B buildings are running about $32 per square foot right now. You'll need about 15,000 square feet for your current team size. Budget around $40,000 per month, plus first month, last month, security deposit and build-out costs. You should also talk to your Amazon contract manager about the potential timeline impact. You're really doing this. I really am. What do you want? Name your price. We'll pay higher rent. There's no price, Marcus. This isn't a negotiation. You made it very clear on Friday that you don't respect me, my work, or my presence. So now you don't get to benefit from my property. Please, Sarah, please. Think about my employees. They didn't do anything to you. Your employees will be fine. They'll move with you to your new location. You'll absorb the cost and recover. Apex will survive. But you'll survive knowing exactly what it cost you to treat your sister like she was worthless. I hung up. By Wednesday, my parents had demanded a family meeting. At their house. Mandatory attendance. I showed up on time. Marcus was already there, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Sarah, my father started, we need to resolve this situation. There's nothing to resolve. Marcus has his eviction notice. He has 27 days remaining. You can't actually expect him to move his entire company. I expect him to honor the lease termination the same way he expected me to clear out of my office with 0 notice. My mother jumped in. Sarah, honey, Marcus said some things he regrets. But you're talking about hurting his business. His employees. Their families. I'm talking about enforcing my property rights. Your property rights? My father's voice was rising. Since when do you have $14 million to buy buildings? Since 2019. The money came from my government contracts. The same work you've dismissed as freelance consulting for the past decade. My mother looked confused. What government contracts? I pulled out my phone and opened a folder. Would you like to see? Here's my Forbes 30 Under 30 feature from 2022. Here's my company profile showing $31 million in revenue last year. Here's a photo of me receiving an award from the Secretary of Homeland Security. Here's my LinkedIn showing my actual job title, founder and CEO of Sentinel Cyber Solutions. I handed my phone to my mother. She scrolled through, her face going pale. You've been this successful, and you never told us? I told you I did consulting. You decided that meant I was barely surviving. You never asked for details. But why wouldn't you? Because I wanted to see who would support me when there was nothing impressive to support. And I got my answer. None of you. Marcus stood up. Sarah, what do you want from me? You want me to grovel? Fine. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I dismissed your work. I'm sorry I didn't respect you. I'm sorry I told you to pack your desk. I'm sorry for every joke, every comment, every time I made you feel small. Please, let us stay. I looked at my brother. The golden child. The Harvard MBA. The one who always had dad's respect and mom's pride. No, I said simply. No. You're not sorry you did it. You're sorry it had consequences. There's a difference. My father slammed his hand on the table. Sarah, enough. This is family. You don't destroy family over hurt feelings. I'm not destroying anything. I'm running my business. Marcus wanted me out of my office for business reasons, remember? This is the same thing. It's not the same at all. You're right. It's not. Because when Marcus told me to leave, I had nowhere else in that building to go. When I'm telling Marcus to leave, he has the entire city of Seattle to choose from. He'll be fine. I stood up. I've spent years at these Sunday dinners listening to Marcus's accomplishments. Listening to you both praise him. Watching you introduce me as, she does something with computers while you introduce him as, our son, the CEO. I built something bigger than what Marcus has. I did it quietly. And none of you noticed because you weren't looking. Sarah, my mother started. The eviction stands. Marcus has 27 days. He has the resources to relocate. He'll be fine. And maybe, just maybe, he'll think twice before dismissing someone again. I walked to the door. Are you coming to Sunday dinner this week? My mother asked, her voice small. I turned back. No. I don't think I will be. Marcus's company moved out on day 29. Professional movers. 3 trucks. 32 employees relocating to a Class B building in Bellevue that cost him nearly $45,000 per month. Almost $17,000 more than he'd been paying me. The Amazon contract got delayed. Not cancelled but delayed by 6 weeks. That cost him about $230,000 in penalty clauses. Total cost of telling me to pack my desk. Approximately $1.1 million. I got one email from him after they moved out. I understand now. I hope someday you let me try to make this right. I didn't respond. My parents called a few times. My mother left voicemails saying she didn't know how successful I was. My father sent texts saying I'd made my point and should move past this. I didn't respond to those either. But I did get other responses. Other tenants in Riverside Tower started asking about lease terms. The law firm on floors 2 to 4 wanted to expand. A tech startup wanted to move in. Everyone paid market rate. Everyone treated the property owner with respect. I released Marcus's former space to a medical device company for $35,000 per month. They moved in 60 days after Apex moved out. The financial impact of losing Marcus as a tenant? Approximately zero after I filled the space. Actually, I came out $7,000 per month ahead with the new tenant. I was having coffee with my friend Jennifer, who runs a venture capital firm. She'd watched the entire situation unfold. "So," she said, grinning, "any regrets about kicking out your brother?" "None. Not even a little. I mean, he did apologize. He apologized because it cost him money. Not because he understood what he did wrong." "Fair point." She paused. "Your parents still not talking to you?" "They call sometimes. I don't answer." "Cold. Strategic. They wanted me to be impressive. Now I am. But only on my terms." "Have you thought about what happens if Marcus actually changes? If he genuinely learns from this?" "I considered it. If that happens, I'll reevaluate. But I'm not holding my breath." "What about you? How are you doing with all of it?" I thought about that question. Really thought about it. Honestly, better than I've been in years. I spent so long trying to earn respect from people who'd already decided I wasn't worth respecting. Now I'm just free. I do my work. I run my business. I own my success. And I don't perform for anyone anymore. That's pretty healthy, actually. Therapy helps. I smiled. That and having $14 million in real estate. We both laughed. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Marcus. I know you probably won't read this, but I wanted you to know I've been seeing a therapist. Working on some things. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to understand where I went wrong. Not just with the building. With everything." I showed Jennifer. "You going to respond?" she asked. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. He's working on himself because he finally faced consequences. That's good for him. But I don't owe him my presence in his growth journey." Stone cold. No. Just clear boundaries. There's a difference. I finished my coffee and stood up. "I have a meeting with a Homeland Security director in an hour. New contract. Estimated value, $6.2 million. Jesus. And your family thought you needed a job managing office supplies." "They did. Past tense. Now they know exactly what I do. And exactly what it costs to underestimate me." I walked out into the Seattle afternoon. My car was parked in my reserved spot at Riverside Tower. My building. My business. My success. All of it earned. None of it given. And not one single person could tell me I didn't deserve it. I wasn't hiding anymore. I was just done performing for people who wouldn't applaud anyway. The golden child had been tarnished. And the dismissed daughter was finally completely free.